You already about to be slammed for even mentioning anything other than Christianity, number one. Because that is a no-no. It's like, the funny thing about you, Elaine, it's so weird. It's like, people, you offend people, and you never are actually trying to offend people. It's so hilarious. It's like, you'd be like, oh, I ain't going half on no dates. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I look like I'm dressed to go to Starbucks or go half on a date? And people are pissed off. You might say, you know what, kids set you back financially, and that's why I never wanted. And people are like, oh, you mad, you bitter, you single, you want children, you just trying to front for Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're not actually trying to offend people, but people are mad offended all the time at everything that you say. I think it's so hilarious. You guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm your host, Danielle Pierce, coming to you live on Your Black World. Do us a favor, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. It helps us tremendously beat this YouTube algorithm. And of course, it's free to you. We're not asking for any donations. We don't need that. Just hit the thumbs up button. Drop your feedback in the comment section. I'm dying to know what you guys think about this. I already know what a lot of Black folks think about this topic, but I'm just curious to know what this particular crowd thinks about the topic. And also, while you're there, let me know what city and state you're watching from, what country you're watching from, and what type of business you have. Because of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention entrepreneurship. I am a full-time 12-year real estate entrepreneur specializing in tax liens and repairing and maintaining foreclosed properties. Elaine is also a full-time entrepreneur as well, which is one of the reasons why she's been able to travel to 26 different countries before she's like not even 40 years old.
I was turning 40 in Greece.
Yes. Are you serious?
Yes.
That is so bomb. And today we're just talking about, should parents charge their children rent? I'll say this about my story. So again, I'm one of 5 children, and my mother never actually said you got to pay rent, but I paid a lot of bills. Like, from the time I started working as a caddy, I was 12 years old. I started caddying at this golf course in Flossmoor, Illinois. I did my first caddy job. I made $40 cash. And when I tell y'all I was sold, I was like, I am rich up in here. Like, yes, $40 at 12 years old with no taxes, no nothing. So it was just wonderful. And from that point, so we're talking 12 years old, from that point up until I was high school, college, I was giving money to my family. My very first internship I got when I was in Georgia, I got paid a stipend at the end of like 6 weeks. It was $750. Do you know my mother took the whole check and used it to pay rent? And she didn't even tell me. So I'm checking the mail looking for this check. Like, man, where's my stipend? And I need this $750. I was 16 years old. And she took it to pay rent. So I'm not mad at my mother for doing that. I was mad at the time. Like, I was just like, this is some bullshit, and you should have mentioned it to me. I'm not mad at her, but it does lend a lot of weight to your point, Elaine, about how people are unprepared, and as a result, our children are unprepared. So she took my money, and I think she didn't say anything because she was too embarrassed and too ashamed. Because I think if she had her way, she would not have needed that money from me. But the fact remains, if she didn't have that money from me, we were going to be evicted. Yeah. That's the reality of it. And again, I'm not mad at her, but I do realize that my mother made a lot of bad choices, which resulted in the lifestyle that I had. Last thing I want to talk, well, one of the last things I want to talk about, Elaine, remember that quiz that we did? The
yes, I remember.
The traumatic childhood indicator quiz or something. I forget the name of it because
I forgot the exact name of it.
It's failing me, and I'm getting old, so bear with me. But if you Google it, it's basically 10 questions to ask, how traumatic was your childhood? And if mine was a 9 out of 10. Elaine, what was your score?
It was 0. It was 0. I was like, man.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you think that's a result of staying at home as long as you did?
You know what, Danielle, to be honest with you, I think it was a direct result of, I grew up in a 2-parent home, and I grew up in, and I want to clarify that, I grew up in a functional 2-parent home. Because a lot
I get offended people unnecessary without
people get so mad when I mention the importance of 2 parents homes, and they immediately go to, well, just because both parents in the house don't mean it, sometimes it's better for we're talking about a functional, I specified functional, yes, 2-parent home. So if a child is in an environment where they're living with both their biological parents and they're seeing both their biological parents work together as a team, then I'm observing this. Like I'm observing a healthy relationship between a man and a woman. And this is like being programmed into my mind. You know, I've seen my parents argue with each other. I've seen them make up with each other. I've seen them apologize to each other. And I've seen them like cut people off because somebody liked one but didn't like the other one. And they wasn't having it. They was like, no, we are the same person. So if he not invited to the party, I'm not coming. And don't even invite us nowhere else if he's not welcome. And vice versa. Like it didn't matter if it was family, it didn't matter if it was friends that, you know, they've known since, oh, that's my frat brother, that's my soror, you know, I ain't finna cut her relationship off for somebody that might not even be here next year.
That's what they say.
But it's like people nowadays have a loyalty to their friends that they don't have to their significant other, but they're all saying, I want to marry my best friend. How? When your best friend is your ship or your soror from college. Marry her then. I'm like, that's the best friend.
So you're saying that you think the two-parent household thing is a big part of why you've been able to have
and people have normalized it not being a big factor, but it is a big factor. And I want to specify again, a functional two-parent household. Because you can't just say two-parent household because people go jump right to dysfunction.
Exactly. They will. I do think that we have collectively normalized dysfunction. We've normalized the idea of single-parent households or households led by Black women. And shit, I wish I knew what the solution was, but honey, I don't. Not today. I don't know what the solution is, but I do know that I've seen the after effects of it. And I've experienced after effects of it as well, because again, going back to my mom, there's 5 of us, and mother was smart, brilliant, loved to read. Like she just was the biggest academic ever. And she had a scholarship to go to college. She got pregnant with my sister in high school. And then she decided, of course, she wasn't going to go to college. So that dream kind of went away. And then there was like this 6-year gap, and then there was 4 of the kids like back to back to back. So I'm 39. My brothers I have twin brothers, 39, set of twins, 37, and the last one is 35 or 36. I can't remember because again, my memory is failing me, but we're all very close together. And when that happened, he had a choice to make. And that choice was, do I stay at home and quote unquote be a welfare queen and collect welfare and just be a stereotype, or do I go to work and she wanted to prove everybody wrong. Well, my mom went to work and she worked 16-hour shifts, back to back to back to back to back. Because of course we're talking in the 80s. So minimum wage was what, $5 something an hour, $6 an hour?
It was like $4 or something. Maybe
and she was a CNA. CNAs have never made shit from back in the 80s or today. They never I think right now you might make $9-10 an hour as a CNA. And so she opted to work, but in her working, she left 5 children at home to basically raise themselves. So my sister became the default parent. And of course, that shit didn't work because my sister was only 6 years older and she didn't want to be bothered with 4 unruly children. And plus, it wasn't her job. And to your point, like people get so offended when we say things like, this is not your child's job to raise your children. Well, it ain't your child's job to raise your children. Now, if circumstances dictate that and you can't get out of it, that's one thing. But let's not act like that's ideal. It's not, because to this day, my sister still don't want to really mess with us. She's still traumatized. She like, that was some bullshit. And
right.
I didn't appreciate it. And it was a lot for her. She missed out on a lot of things because of us. Well, no, because of my mother's decisions that she made with her life. So yeah, that's not ideal. So let's stop acting like that's what's up. It's not.
And you know what, Danielle, you mentioned in that, you said your mother worked 16-hour shifts.
Yes.
And that's shifting back to the advantage of a 2-parent home, because that way all of that isn't on one person. because I watched my parents. My mom worked days and my dad worked nights. So somebody was an adult was always at home with us.
Yeah.
So I mean, it works if you have two people that's putting the children's best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And then you can have one person that wants to put the children's best interest at heart, but then somebody is being selfish.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, nobody has your children's best interest at heart more so than the parents. That's just the reality of it. No
Mm-hmm.
grandparent, no cousin, no best friend. That's the reality of it. And that's another thing that a lot of us are triggered by is when we start talking about things like childcare and daycare and the necessity of it. Well, we know that it's necessary, but just so we're clear, it's still not ideal to have basically strangers raising your children. And again, I know that sounds offensive. I mean, I had to do, I didn't have to do it, but I thought about it. And I know it's stressful. I know that you need to go to work and you have things to do, but I promise you, nobody's going to look after your children the way that you will. It's kind of like that example of I give my children, because my 8-year-old asked me to go to a damn sleepover and I couldn't believe it. First of all, you're not going to nobody's sleepover ever, number one. Number two, if the house catches on fire, boo, they not coming to get you first. That's just the reality of they're going to save their own children and you're going to have to figure it out. You guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm your host, Danielle Pierce, coming to you on Finding Being Queen, Your Black World. You can catch me every Tuesday and Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're talking about, should parents charge their children rent? I want to know what you guys think. I know some of y'all are probably going in the comments. We're going to get back to y'all later and see what y'all talking about and see what y'all got to say. And Elaine is very clear that she is the recipient of living in her parents' household until she was 32, not paying rent. And it helped her save money, get great credit, graduate from college with no issues, and not have a traumatic childhood. So it's not like a lot of us think that kids gonna be spoiled if we don't teach them, if we don't get them to pay, $100 every week, they gonna be spoiled. Elaine, what do you think about that? Are you spoiled?
That's a yes and no. my thing is, I'm gonna say yes, I'm spoiled, but I'm a reciprocator. I reciprocate. So it's okay. I reciprocate.
Now, let me ask you this. You said you don't want children. And tell me the age when you realized that you didn't want children.
I was 10.
Do you think that's because of watching your siblings struggle with their children, having them so young?
That's part of the reason. And another part of the reason was once I found out where babies came from, I didn't want to do that. I'm like, that looked like that sucks. And I don't want to do it. And I haven't done it. I'm not kidding. That looks like that sucks.
Yeah, sucks is an understatement. It is
imagine.
Yeah, it's quite traumatic. And of course, the aftermath, everybody's like, oh, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. It is. However, getting there is quite traumatic. Unless you're one of those women who be like, I never had pain during childbirth. Like, if you're one of those women, I'm mad and I'm jealous and I'm hating on you because I can't relate to that.
Right.
But if you were to have children or ever take on like any of your nieces or nephews, would you have them stay with you and not pay rent?
I think I will. That's one of the reasons why, I'm such an advocate for entrepreneurship and, for not settling for a job. And in our community, we tend to think we made it if we're making $76,000 at Comcast. So, but like you said, how many hours do you have to put in and be away from your family in order to make that type of income? So yeah,
tell me about your background and tell me about your college degree, the job you had, and your transition to full-time entrepreneurship, because that story is always fascinating to me.
All right, so I got a late start with college. I was one of those people who hated school. I got D's and F's in high school. I graduated with a 1.6 GPA.
I didn't know that now.
I don't know how I graduated, and I don't know even more, I don't know how I got accepted into college.
I never knew that part of the story, but go ahead.
ACT score, it was a 17. So
Girl.
But I've always made good decisions though. And it came from being around people who was doing better than I was. So I made the decision to go to Chicago State University. I graduated debt free. I graduated at the age of, I was just about to turn 23. And I graduated with a bachelor's in biology, minor in chemistry. I worked part time at Walgreens as a pharmacy technician while I was in college. And a year later, after I graduated, then I got hired with the Illinois State Police as a forensic scientist. Now I worked there for 10 years. And then I was able to, what should I say the magic word, Danielle?
Yes, you should say it.
I joined the So I wound up joining an MLM company, and I was at my job for like 5 years, and within 3.5 years, I was able to walk away from it. So that was a total of 10 years.
I don't think they heard you. So let me paraphrase. So you have a degree in biology and a minor in chemistry. You work for the Illinois State Police, where you we that's a whole other live stream about your experience there. So we're gonna cover that another day. But you ended up transitioning, and you started working for an MLM, multi-level marketing company. Yeah. And you ended up, after 3.5 years, you were able to leave your job as a forensic scientist.
That's correct.
Girl, I knew you were smart. When that first time I read that, I was like, yeah, Elaine is, and let me be clear. So MLMs, of course, get a bad rap, and they, everybody's like, it's a scam, is this, is that, and the third. Just so we're clear, I have certain issues with MLMs, but I under no circumstances think that it's a scam. Number one, it's definitely not a scam. I will say this, Elaine, I've told you this before, if you can make it at a multi-level marketing company, you can make it anywhere. You could do any business anywhere, because MLMs basically bring out all the insecurities that you have about yourself. They bring out all the areas where you're weak. A lot of us are weak in hearing the word no. We don't like to hear the word no. We're offended. Our feelings are hurt. We're like, oh, I got a cold call. I got to talk to people and have them hang up on me and curse me out. Yeah, you do. Because if you can do that, all of the other shit is going to be water under the bridge. Would you say that's been your experience?
That's definitely been my experience. And some of the responses that I've gotten from people have just been flat out hilarious. So I think it's funny. I think the stuff when that turns people off from multi-level marketing, I think is hilarious.
What's the number one response that you've gotten? Is it about not having money?
You know what? The number one or the most ridiculous?
Give me both of them.
Okay.
Give me both of them. We got time today.
The number one issue people have is the monthly overhead, which is only $100. So my actual issue with that is, and of course, people just say that as a polite way to say no. For some reason, adults don't like telling other adults no. So I'm very adamant about using the word no. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to make it seem like I need to think about it. I'm just going to say no. And the answer is no, because I'm going to be sitting on my couch drinking wine. It's not even a real reason. So.
Okay. And what's the most ridiculous?
The most ridiculous is, let me talk to my pastor first, because I have to pray on it. That was one of the most ridiculous. Yeah.
Let me process that for it. So let me talk to my past first. I gotta pray on it. Okay. Yeah. We're not here to throw anybody's religion under the bus. So for y'all start in the comments. I just will say this. I think that if you are an adult and $100 a month is something that is absolutely out of your range, I think that a lot of things need to be reevaluated. I'll say that. A lot of things need to be reevaluated. If you guys are just tuning in, before we wrap up, again, I'm your host, Danielle Pierce, coming to you on Your Black World today. Normally, I'm on Fly to Being Queen every Tuesday and Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern. You guys hit the thumbs up button if you have not already. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys for doing that. Be sure to text Queens to 31996 to be notified when we go live. And of course, we are still looking for new panelists. So if you want to be here on YouTube or on Facebook, send us an email to producer@flynubianmedia.com. You can find out more about my platform at economicelevation.com. And Elaine, what's your YouTube channel?
It's EPH Lifestyle. Let me double check and make sure.
No, that's the name of it. I was just on there last night. And so, Elaine, just so we're clear, you are the recipient of, you stayed at your parents' house rent-free until you were 32.
Yes.
No children.
No children.
A couple engagements, but haven't been married.
Yes.
Great credit, which I know personally, great credit score. And you are a multi-level marketing professional, and you've been able to leave your 6-figure job as a forensic scientist to do multi-level marketing.
Yes.
And you don't believe that children should pay rent to their parents. And as a matter of fact, you think it's detrimental if they do so.
Mm-hmm. All of the above is correct. Okay. The channel is EPH Lifestyle Inc.
EPH Lifestyle Inc. And what would you tell if you had a chance to talk to some the people and we'll say people who have children, small children, and they're working every day, and what would you tell them as far as any advice or a way out or any feedback? What would you say to them?
I would say to them to really think about how, especially if you have small children, it's amazing some of the things that I remember from like when I was 6 and 7 years old. And your children's memories form earlier than you think. And even my niece, she's 8. She's brought stuff back up to me that I've told her when she was like 4.
Yeah.
She remembers it. So just be aware of the fact that your children are watching you, and it may be the slightest thing that sticks in their head. And is that going to be something that they can grow up with and feel empowered by? Or is that something that they're going to use to self-sabotage themselves with when they become adults or as they, become adults? So I'm very conscious about the things I say to my niece. And I'll ask her stuff. I'll flat out ask her questions like, are you proud of yourself? I'll ask her, how do you feel about yourself at school? I want to know what her thought process is about herself and around her peers. I want to know if anybody is bullying her or making her feel uncomfortable. And I basically want to make sure that she knows that she is the shit and that she is protected and that she is loved. Yeah. So, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm like this obnoxious person for a lot of people on Facebook, is because my dad instilled that in me. And, I remember from as far back as I can remember, it's like at the age of 3, all the way up to now, Danielle, my dad told me every single day that I was very important and special to him. Wow. Because he made me.
Wow.
He told me that every single day growing up. So if I went out and got bullied at school, I didn't come home and hang myself in the closet. So I'm like, this is huge. I'm like, just words of affirmation from an opposite sex parent too.
Yeah, I just wonder what that would look like for every woman to have experienced that as a child. I think that would change things pretty much overnight. Between today and tomorrow, it'll be a 180. And going back to your point about memories, I always say that children are always learning whether or not we're teaching. It's literally like living it's like living under a microscope. And those of you who have children, you know that this to be true. They don't miss anything. I could change my eyeshadow color and they'll be like, "Mommy, you had on pink the other day and now it's orange. Why did you do that, Mommy?" I could change my toenail polish, and here they come, with the questions. Like, they always are watching. And I remember, so my earliest memory, unfortunately, is my dad hitting my mom. And I was 2 when this happened. And I went in the closet and I remember screaming and screaming and screaming, like so loud. I had my favorite robe on that I love to have on, and I was holding this teddy bear. And my sister came in the closet and got me. And then the police knocked on the door and they took my dad to jail. That was my very earliest memory.
Oh
And
no.
I could go on and on about all the things that that taught me, and the other things that I've learned. But trust and believe, it wasn't positive. And again, my mother never said, Danielle, you should let men hit you. Danielle, you should have men yelling at you and talking crazy. She never said that to me, but she said it to me with her actions. And so that's what the point that I'm making, and Elaine is making as well, is that they're always watching, and you don't have to be specifically giving them a lesson, but they see everything. Like they see shit that it's like I said, it's like living under a microscope. Elaine, tell the people where to find your YouTube channel again before we leave.
It's EPH Lifestyle Inc.
EPH Lifestyle Inc. And you're going to be talking about traveling the world.
Incorporated.
Traveling the world, going to 26 different countries, not being unapologetic, right? And anything else that you're going to be talking about on the channel?
I'm gonna start talking about health and beauty products. You know, I do use my degree as a chemist still, so I do mix stuff up in the kitchen. I recently started using mushed up potato ice cubes and aloe vera and sea moss on my face. Danielle, when I tell you this mixture closed up my pores, okay?
I cannot take you.
My pores, and it is fading my hyperpigmentation.
Really?
So I'm excited about it. Girl, I get you the recipe.
I'm so glad we had this conversation today. You guys, again, let us know what you think in the comments. I'm not a proponent of charging children rent, not a proponent of making them adults before they're ready. And just so we're clear, because sometimes I don't like to take a specific stance, but for this one I will, because I do have children. There's nothing magical about turning 18 or 21. And those of you who know 18 and 21-year-olds, they still do the same dumb shit that they've been doing. They're prone to doing dumb shit, I should say, because they're biologically, there's a part of the brain that doesn't fully develop until you're, what is it, 25 or 23? And it has to do with reasoning. And at 18 and 21-year-old, they're not grown. They're not adults. And charging them rent is not, there's other ways to make your children be properly prepared adults besides charging rent. We like to think that charging rent is the only way, and it absolutely is not. All right. Text Queens to 31996 to be notified when we go live. Be sure to come back and check me out on Thursday. I'm going to be talking about, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about yet, but it's going to be good. Probably something to do with tax lien properties. Again, find my website at economicelevation.com. What else? Oh, listen to the Finding Being Queen podcast on the go. We're on iTunes. And I think that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you for having me, Miss Danielle.
Thank you. And follow again Elaine's YouTube channel. It's EPH Lifestyle Incorporated. All right. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Sending you love, light, peace, blessings, grace, and clarity. Until next time. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.